Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. So today I'm going to read on some of the things that we've all been seeing in the news over the last few days. Some things that I think are pertinent that I didn't cover in the last video. So I will go through all of that. I'll finish up with a 3-card pull from the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. And I just want to let everyone know that I am going to Mexico on Sunday. So I'm really excited. For members or people that want to be members, just like when I went to Egypt, you'll get all that behind the scenes footage, like private tours of things and the live channeling with the Ra Collective, of course. So I'm just really excited about it. And I'm also really excited to announce, I know probably most of you already know this because you watched me on Hogarth's channel on Saturday. YouTube contacted me on Friday and I can't even still believe it, and said that they made me a YouTube partner. So I am so excited. I have a person at YouTube that is going to be helping me to grow my channel. You know, I don't think they usually pick people in this genre to really assist. So this just means the world to me. And because I want to stay in a state of gratitude, I'm going to give away a free membership. So you do have to have PayPal. There is no way I can get around that. So if you would like to have a free membership, just put, free membership below this video and I will pick someone. And for members, I am going to give away a free Starseed Oracle deck because I know you guys like that, but I will post something separate in the community section for you, okay? All right, so let's get into this. You all may have been kind of surprised when you heard that Russia blew up one of their satellites. And, that might sound sort of harmless, except that our astronauts were right there. And so I sort of wanted to take a look at that. They was doing this anti-satellite weapons test, and it caused our astronauts to have to shelter on the International Space Station, which is just unbelievable that they would do that to us. That's really, or is it unbelievable? Maybe it's not, I don't think they really care too much about what we think or feel, but let's see, what was their motivations? Because I don't think it was innocent. Let me say that. I could feel it, I could feel that energy behind it, and it did not feel innocent to me. I think it was done to send a message. That's what I'm feeling. It was done to send a message. Okay. Oh, interesting, because I get my card for Biden. Very interesting. Okay, so the first card I get is the Wheel of Fortune. So they're trying to go into like this new phase, this new cycle, one where they're more fortunate, they're luckier. And I don't know how that's going to work out for them because their obstacle is they're doing things all alone. They're doing things without support. And so obviously they are certainly alienating us. And so this may not go the way Putin had wanted it to, okay? Now it's interesting because like I said, I get my card for Biden. I think if he needs to take action, he will. He is paying attention. This has his full attention. He is fully aware of what's going on. And I think he will do whatever it is that needs to be done. I wouldn't be surprised if phone calls were already made. I do get the sense that they were. And then ultimately, here is Russia just sort of walking away with like their tail between their legs, not necessarily losing anything. I mean, all the cups are upright, but at the same time, not getting the result that they wanted. Maybe they wanted us to have a bigger reaction than what we did, but be it as it may, it was a really dangerous and foolish thing to do. And it's just really fortunate that none of our astronauts got hurt in the process. So as I had predicted in the last video, Bannon was brought in for, contempt of, he wouldn't, contempt with Congress because he wouldn't do anything about the subpoena, right? He just thought, I don't need to comply with the subpoena. And that didn't work out for him. And like I've said before, I don't watch a lot of news, but this sort of did have my attention. And so I did watch him. And what really struck me was how awful he really looked. He didn't look well, both physically, but also mentally. Because I do believe the way we present ourselves, especially if you know that millions of people are going to be watching you, and you make yourself look like a homeless person, there's something going on. And so I'm going to say he is truly not in a good place, both physically, but also mentally. There is something not quite right. His words were inflammatory at best, right? You know, instead of saying the Biden administration, he said the Biden regime. You know, like that was said for effect, right? You know, I know it's a bunch of theater, and it's more of what we saw with 45's administration. But at the same time, I think he has his supporters, doesn't he? You know, people are watching him. He still has his fans. There are still people out there supporting him. So let's see what's going to happen to him. I don't think it's going to be anything good. I do think he's going to have to, you know, pay for what he has done. But I don't think he's going to pay to the extent that we would like him to. Okay. You know, if you were hoping that he would get, you know, 10 plus years or something, I'm not seeing that. Okay, so what do we need to know about Steve Bannon? Okay. So I think the cards are pretty telling. Remember how I said like the way he looked just wasn't right to me. So, you know, it is a reflection of how he's doing. So right now, his strength, his inner courage, his patience is all being tested. And so he's trying to pull himself together, but as we can see, it's not really working, is it? That wasn't a good show that he put on. His obstacle is lack of community support. So even though he does have some supporters, he may be overplaying his hand. He may think, oh gosh, I have millions and millions of people that are going to back me and it's going to all be fine. And I don't think so. He was being foolish. You know, I mean, just that tweet that he put out on January 5th, you know, the day before, that was very telling, right? He showed his hand. He showed that he knew what was happening, and he put it in writing. And so that's why I've said before about him and also about Barr, I do think that they're making poor decisions based on substances, something that they're doing. And not to mention they are overconfident and arrogant, right? These are people that feel very privileged and entitled. But, you know, it doesn't work forever. You know, sometimes luck runs out. And when you look at his cards, he has this ruthless battle coming up. And why? Because he abused power. You know, the bit of power that he had, he did abuse it. And so now he's going to have a fight. Well, what kind of fight? Well, it's going to court. You know, so he is going to end up in the courtroom and it's going to be a battle. And I don't think it's going to turn out well for him at all. I think he has really overplayed his hand. You know, he should have just left things alone, you know, months and months and months ago, right? But he didn't. And so I think his ending is pretty predictable. I think he will get some jail time, but like I said, I don't think he'll get the extent that maybe a lot of us would want him to. So I saw that a lot of you asked me about China and why they were causing all that panic. You know, it really just doesn't feel real to me. It feels like it was intentional. This feels contrived. It doesn't feel like this is something that was organic, like the government was actually worried, the Chinese government that is, was actually worried about the people. I really felt like it was more to send us a message. And so we can take a look at that. But, you know, from what I understand, you know, from what I've been reading, is that they're having a hard time even getting their hands on like rice and noodles, just their staples over there. And, you know, that's a problem. And they're a big country to have that level of panic, aren't they? You know, you don't want a country that big, you know, with that many people panicking. Unless you are doing it for drama and effect and you want to see, you know, the world's reaction. because the world's reaction will show them how much power they have, I feel. Yeah. This is very strange, this reading. Not at all what I had expected. Not at all. Okay, so, I mean, the first card is pretty obvious, right? So they created a tower moment. Do I think it's a real tower moment? Do I think like they actually don't have any food for people? No, I actually don't think that. But they created, you know, all this negativity. But I, once again, sort of like with Bannon, I don't think it's going to have, and with Putin too, in the other reading, I don't think it's going to have the effect that they wanted. You know, because the thing with the tower is, if it was built on a better foundation, it would have been able to withstand this, you know, lightning bolt, right? And people wouldn't be jumping to their deaths and all this, you know, horribleness. So I think they did it without building that good foundation first. So it's not going to have the effect that they wanted. When I look at their obstacles, I pulled two cards. One is the Hermit. So I think, yes, they were doing it for educational purposes. They wanted to see what would happen. You know, what would the world do if a country their size, with their power, had an issue? I do think, you know, because would it make us panic? Because so much of our, you know, things that we use every day, so many of our products and, you know, so much of, you know, even the little things that we use are made over there. And so for one, I think it was educational, but two, I think they're all alone. They don't have the support that they think that they may have. And their other issue is they're overthinking and they're overanalyzing. They're very much in their heads about this. And that tells me that they're not grounded and being down to earth. You know, sword energy is wonderful for thinking, but if you don't balance it with like the pentacle energy where you're grounded, then you're just all in your head. And I think that's where they are, but it's not going to have the effect that they want. They are ending one phase or cycle and going into another. So this to them, I think, had bigger implications. I think there was a higher purpose. But the strange part is why I was saying, like, I didn't expect this, is because every time I kept pulling a card, I kept getting more and more pentacles. And so, you know, the first one I get is money coming in slowly and reliably. Okay, well, that tells me that they're not truly having a crisis. The money is coming in very predictably. Okay. That the families will actually be okay over there. You know, this is the only card that has 3 generations of a family plus the 2 dogs, and you can't get more golden coins. But was this also something to do with big money, corporation money, government money? You know, how many corporations benefited from selling out everything, right? Because their shelves are bare over there. So how many companies benefited? Okay. And then here's a financial offer, more money pouring in. So like I said, this is not what it looks like. I don't think that there is a true crisis. I think it's man-made. So Biden and China's Xi Jinping spoke. They had a virtual, like a 3-hour virtual meeting the other day. And, you know, I think they discussed a lot in that 3 hours. And we know that they talked about Taiwan, which is something that I will look at because you guys have asked me to look at Taiwan. So I will take a look at that. But let's see what happened during that phone conversation, you know. And I shouldn't say phone. It's probably more like Zoom or Skype, but very secure. So let's take a look. What came out of that meeting? What came out of that meeting? What do we need to know, Spirit? Okay, I think this kind of makes sense. I guess I'm not too surprised. So we get the World card again, and it's funny because I just got that, right? And so what I'm going to say is we're going into a new phase, a new cycle. We are concerned about China. And, just to be clear, when I talk about China, I'm talking about the government, not the people, right? Because, they're as much a victim to their government as we are to ours, right? I mean, think about that 4 years that we had with 45. We wouldn't want people judging us on that, would we? So, but I do think as a country, they are going into a new phase, a new cycle, but so is our relationship with them. So it's all changing. Their presence on the world stage is getting stronger, and they're testing, okay? The obstacle, feelings of burden and oppression. And I kind of get like this is from both sides. Like there's only so much each country can do. Each country wants to do more. So like Biden wanted to do more. Xi Jinping wanted to do more. But realistically, to be peaceful, we can only do so much. And this is causing some burden and some oppression from probably both the leaders. I'm going to say that they must have spoken about how the virus is impacting children. This is the only card that only has children. And so we know that they spoke about children. And what's the big topic with children right now? It's the virus, right? And so they must have covered, how the virus is affecting children. They also must have talked about money. Money, and once again, this isn't like big windfalls of money, but money that is just stable and predictable and reliable. So what I get out of that is doing business as usual, keeping things going, no big changes, because out of all the knights, right, knights are about action until we get to him, and all 4 hooves of this horse are on the ground. So this was a very slow moving conversation. I'm going to say it was not groundbreaking at all. And it's interesting because then I get like 2 opposite cards. So you get the card of moving forward, taking control, taking power, and then the card of retreat. So I'm going to say that this 3-hour meeting had a lot to do with a play of energies, okay? Where, okay, I'll move forward with this if you pull back on this. And so there must have been this push and pull, this give and take that just kept happening. And so we know that it had something to do with money and with children, but also to, commerce in general, all of our business that we do with each other, all of that. And they did cover Taiwan, which I want to do next, okay? So let's look at Taiwan. We sort of support Taiwan on one hand, like we sort of say like, okay, it's okay if they're independent, if they don't really do anything about it. But also too, it's okay if they're independent, if China doesn't really do anything about it, because like we're just trying to, I think, keep the peace. I think Biden's trying to walk this line where no feathers are being ruffled to cause any war. We want peace. And so I think it's a very fine line to walk on. And I had a card jump out. So the card of betrayal, feeling stabbed in the back, and I'm going to say this could actually be Taiwan. Taiwan may have been expecting more out of us, okay? Okay. Oh, I wonder how Taiwan is doing with the virus. Interesting. Interesting. Because I know, Queen of Cups is obviously about emotions and relationships and things like that. But this is also my card for the virus. And so I'm wondering if there was some talk, between the 2 men about how the virus is affecting Taiwan. That would be my guess. The obstacle is, and I really feel like this is more from Taiwan's perspective, their wishes and dreams aren't coming true. You know, the star card, I always think of that Disney song, When You Wish Upon a Star, right? And it's in the obstacle position. So their wishes and dreams aren't coming true. But I think you could make the argument that China's wishes and dreams aren't coming true either. You know, I do believe they do want to take over Taiwan if they can, but they also know that they're going to meet opposition and they don't want that either. So they did talk about the people of Taiwan, the families, the finances, the money aspect, you know, whatever goods they're exporting and that sort of thing. So I think just the basic regular, you know, stuff that you would expect anyone to talk about with any country, but also trying to be fair and balanced, the Justice card. So I think, you know, Biden did stress try to be peaceful. I think he was trying to say things like that, like, let's have a peaceful resolution. But ultimately, though, you know, we are walking away from the situation. I don't think we really want to truly involve ourselves, especially right now where, you know, we're going through this pandemic and it's not over still, and they're predicting another spike and all of that. So I think at this moment, we're leaving it alone as long as China leaves Taiwan alone. I thought we could take a look at that potential new spike, because they are predicting that we're going to have a spike with people gathering for Thanksgiving. So let's see if indeed, you know, it's going to cause another spike. And I've been meaning to tell you guys too. So my loved one that's in a nursing home here in New England, it is so bad there. It is so bad. Everybody's vaccinated, but it is just to the point that it's been completely like shut down. Like, you can't go in. They can't have like religious services or therapy animals or musical entertainment or gather to play bingo. I mean, these people are getting no stimulation because the cases, I mean, it's in every single unit. It's both with staff and with the residents. And, you know, the staff that chose not to get vaccinated, because all the residents are vaccinated and most of the staff is, but the staff that's not, they have to be tested before every shift. So, I mean, the nursing home's doing their part, but we're not going to be able to see our loved one. We won't be able to see him for Thanksgiving. And I'm not feeling optimistic about Christmas. So, it's so heartbreaking. This whole thing is just heartbreaking, and it's just dragging out. But I think it's just our new reality for right now. So let's see. Is there going to be a spike, Spirit, with Thanksgiving? Is there going to be a Thanksgiving spike? Well, I certainly don't like the cards. That's for sure. So, I mean, the first card I get is the Eight of Swords. You know, people feeling like they've been victimized, right? So I would say, yeah, there's going to be a spike, right? So at the same time, though, when we look at this card, she could undo this. This cloth that's around her, that's binding her, is very loose. So we have the power to prevent these things, right? So it's not that it's not preventable, but I think people that aren't vaccinated, maybe people that aren't feeling well. Like, I mean, if you don't feel well, stay home, right? Because even if you are vaccinated, you could still spread it. But I think some people are going to make the wrong decision. Now look at this. The obstacle is it's going to affect our money. So that tells me, okay, yeah, there is going to be a spike. And I think it's really going to depend upon where you live. I don't think it's going to be equal because these spikes never seem to be. So it is going to depend. And so if you live in one of those areas where there's not a lot of vaccinated people, then it's going to have an effect on your community. And then I get the card of the Devil. So, I mean, he's kind of similar to the Eight of Swords in some ways, because you have these two characters down here that are chained. And instead of like freeing themselves, because these chains are completely loose, they can just pull them off. They decide to actually become more like the devil, to grow horns and tails. And so we're sort of doing this to ourselves, is what I'm getting. And it's going to leave us like in this planning stage where we're going to have to figure things out all over again. So yeah, I think it is going to happen again, unfortunately. And so on Saturday, when I was on Hogarth's channel, we talked about Representative Paul Gosar. He's an Arizona Republican. And I wasn't even aware of the situation, that he had made that horrible cartoon where he was killing AOC. I mean, what a bizarre thing to do. I mean, not just is it immature, I mean, it's just bizarre, because I wouldn't expect a child to do that either. And so, you know, Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, did call him and, you know, chastise him. But let's see if anything is going to come of it. You know, let's see if anything's going to happen to, you know, Gosar. Because really, there needs to be some sort of repercussion, right? There needs to be some kind of repercussion. Because, first of all, to me, that speaks volumes about his mental health. I mean, a normal, healthy person wouldn't do that. Very interesting. Very interesting cards. Okay, so there's more truth that's going to come out about him. So maybe this wasn't just one single act of insanity. Maybe there's others. Maybe there's other things that we don't know about, because here's the sword of truth. And I think that would make sense, right? I mean, that's human nature. Usually you don't just have like this one psychotic break and everything's just fine. There's more that we need to know and need to learn about. The problem is things aren't moving very quickly, are they? You know, here we have the Hanged Man. Once again, the Hanged Man is also hanged by choice. You know, his leg is totally free. There's really nothing holding him there. He could just, you know, undo himself and leave. But once again, the Republican Party is more like him, and they're doing this to themselves. And I think that this would have an impact on, you know, even the female Republican voters. I mean, that video was just unbelievable. And so I think it's going to have an issue, you know, be an issue rather, you know, down the road. But things have not been decided. You know, the Republican Party is at a crossroads. They're trying to figure things out. But look at this. They're also trying to get away with something. And so is, you know, Paul Gosar. And they're going to try to get away with it. But it's going to impact their ability to work and make money, which makes me think now they're worried about being reelected. So I think in the end, they're going to have to do the right thing, because they want to keep working, right? They want to be reelected. So they need to just pull it together and figure it out already. You know, you can't keep somebody like that there. It's not okay. And I can't even imagine how AOC must be feeling. Oh my goodness. I mean, imagine if that was you and somebody made a very public cartoon where they were, you know, murdering you. I mean, that's just unbelievable. The other thing I wanted to look at was, as I'm sure you know, Kyle Rittenhouse is on trial and all that. And I wanted to take a look at that judge, because there's something about that judge that just doesn't feel right to me. His behavior, some of his decisions just don't seem to make sense. I would say he does seem to be biased. Okay, so let's take a look at that judge. Oh, the cards are jumping, so there's something. One jumped out, and it's actually the Sword of Truth. So here we go, Ace of Swords. So there is more truth that needs to come out about him, about the judge. Because I sort of feel like the jury has one mindset, but the judge has another. Not that I'm saying that all the jurors are going to agree and it's going to be all smooth sailing. And no, I don't think that. But there does seem to be some bias there. And I just can't shake that feeling. Yeah, this is sort of what I thought. Okay. This is actually really interesting. Okay. So the first card I get, Ace of Wands. You know, obviously this is like a very fiery, passionate card, right? And so, yeah, he is creating a lot of drama and that sort of thing. But this is also a card of like a fertile new beginning, right? What's growing on this, you know, wand is these beautiful green leaves. It's not a dead stick. This wand is alive, meaning the seeds that were planted are going to come to fruition. And so that tells me he's doing this for a different purpose other than, you know, justice, right? The obstacle. Big government money, big corporation money. Why is that coming up in this reading? That really shouldn't be, should it? So the obstacle is he's being funded with an awful lot of money. However, he is being foolish while he's taking that money, okay? And ultimately, he's going to find himself all alone and retreating. So he's not going to get the support that he thinks he's going to get ultimately. Like right now, I think what he's doing is good for him. But, and I'm not saying that, you know, he's going to let Kyle Rittenhouse off scot-free completely, but I don't feel confident in his abilities either, because I think he is biased, and the cards even showed the reason why. So, all right, friends, let's wrap this up. I'm going to do the 3 cards from the Starseed Oracle. And what I want you to ask yourself is, what does my spirit guide want me to know right now? What does my guide want me to know the most right now? So take a deep breath, center yourself, and go with like your gut instinct. Are you drawn most to 1, 2, or 3? Okay, here we go. Card 1, forge, don't follow. Pave a new path, be the leader you wish you had. So it's so, you know, this reminds me of like the Ace of Swords, or the Page of Swords rather, where, you know, he is striking out a new path on his own. He's forging a new path on his own. He's not imitating anybody. He's being genuine and authentic, and he's standing in his power. He's speaking his truth. And so that's the energy your spirit guide is trying to get you to pay attention to, and to take on, you know, in your personal life. Card number 2, you are not alone. Isolation, physical connection, community. So if you chose this card, you may have been feeling isolated, lonely, by yourself, maybe even depressed, like you weren't getting enough support, socialization. And the thing to remember is you are not alone, because first of all, your guide is right there with you. Reach out to your guide. It's a free will planet, so they can't just tinker with you. You have to invite them in. And don't forget to say, okay, spirit guide, come into my life. Help me make changes. Help me make improvements. Help me, you know, with whatever it is you're struggling with. And same thing with your angels. You know, you have to invite them in. And then thirdly, weight of the world. Boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. You know, that's where, as you know, like in the empath class, we talk about, you know, you observe, but you don't absorb, right? Not everything is your problem. You can let things go. You can move on and set boundaries with people, especially if you are an empath and you're very sympathetic to people, and you can feel what they're feeling. So you don't want them to feel hurt, and you try to be a good person, but you may need to set better boundaries, because some people are toxic, and then you have to let them go. You can only help a toxic person so much before you become sick and you're not well. So keep that in mind, you know, set boundaries. It's okay. All right, everyone, it was a pleasure making this video, and I will see all of you in a few days. Bye now.